We're spending 22 minutes today with Kate Walsh. So great to have you here.
I'm so thrilled to be here.
In a Broadway show, If I Forget.
Yeah, so if you forget, it's if I forget. If I forget, as in if I forget my lines, if I forget the name of the play, it's if I forget, yeah.
We're not going to forget it because this is by the same writer who brought us Dear Evan Hansen, right?
Yeah,
I mean, these are mad credentials.
Oh my gosh, Stephen Levinson, he literally is a genius. He's incredible. And it's been such an amazing experience to work with him and Dan Sullivan, who's directed everything in the world that's good. And that's our amazing cast, Jeremy Shamos, Maria Dizia, Tasha Lawrence, Larry Brigman. It's incredible.
Right. A lot of star power, including yourself.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about the premise. I've read that it's about family and the stories we choose to believe. That's a little vague. Give us a little bit more.
It's everything. It's a big play. It's I sort of describe it as political, familial, personal. It's 3 generations of a family, and it takes place in D.C. In the summer before the 2000 political election of Bush Cheney. And then goes on into after the election, but it's really about the family too, and relationships and belief systems, and it literally will make you laugh and cry. It's got everything, and it's so layered and brilliant, and it's been an incredible process.
About a professor and his 2 sisters, and they're dealing with an aging
They have an aging father. They're, and yeah, the first part of the play, they're all coming home basically for his 75th birthday, their father's birthday, and you just sort of see all of these crazy dynamics playing out, and some big choices that the professor has made. Jeremy Shamos plays him as Michael Fisher. He's incredible, and it's really been, it's amazing. It's a huge, beautiful piece, and I have great expectations for it. It's been a blast to be a part of.
Well, I think people love that.
Yeah.
They love, you set a family together on a screen and watch the fireworks unfold and all the different politics. I mean, who can't relate to that, right?
Well, and it's 3 generations too. In the play, I have a son, and there are other, kids that are talked about that are either at college or away. And so I think that everybody can identify into what, one generation or another, either being a parent or having aging parents. And then also just the dynamics of marriage, of work, of identity, and and story, and just choices that people make, and how that affects everyone. Like one little ripple in a life can affect everyone around them, and drama ensues. But it's very funny as well. So that takes a genius writer and director and cast really to pull off. But to be able to kind of have that real pathos and drama, and then also funny in the next beat, it's been pretty incredible.
Yeah. And your character, how did you come to play her?
Well, I've been wanting to do a play back in New York for a long time, and I've been looking, and my agent, I said in November, I'm like, okay, this is it, gotta go, because I've been doing movies and TV, and I was just jonesing to do a play, and she brought me this, and it was the perfect role. It's so hard. It's like threading a needle to find a time that works, the perfect role, and the greatest writer and director that you could dream of, and a cast to suit. It's been amazing.
Not the first time a great writer, creator came to you with something. Shonda Rhimes.
Well,
I speak your name.
I was going to say, similarly, Stephen has that same quality of being able to kind of sucker punch you one moment and make you laugh the next. And that same quality that Shonda does so brilliantly of showing you just a myriad facets of a character, and so it's been,
And when she came to you for Grey's Anatomy, I mean, was she Shonda Rhimes at that point, or was Grey's really the show that put her on the map?
Well, she didn't come to me. I had Linda Lowy, who had cast me in Under the Tuscan Sun, and who's a big supporter and fan of Chicago theater actors, had called me in to audition for it, for Addison Shepherd or Montgomery Shepherd or whatever at that time. And I was working, and they were waiting, and she said to Shonda, just wait, I think I have your girl. And then I went in and read, and Shonda was in the room with then Peter Horton and Betsy Beers, and and I got it. And it was supposed to be just 5 episodes or 7 or something like that, and then it turned into a whole trajectory.
Yeah, it sure did. It sure did. And you were McDreamy, McSteamy.
I know. I
around?
made my rounds. I chatted around that hospital, and then I had to go to a different city and start all over there. Yeah.
Not just the hospital rounds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you know, I always hear interviews with actors and actresses about, you know, these love scenes, and they say, oh, you know, it's really no fun because the cameras are there, and it's.
Yeah.
Was it?
Really no fun?
A little bit of fun?
It's a little bit of fun. Come on. You'd be lying. I mean, people lie. No, it's weird for sure. You definitely, particularly with Addison, she really did sort of, it was a great fantasy to play, but you're like, boy, I don't know anyone in Santa Monica or LA or anywhere men are just lining up for, but for a well-heeled doctor. But it was really fun to play. But the truth is, particularly with Tay is like, he's such like a brother to me, but it was only afterwards I realized, kind of like after we finished the series, I was like, oh my gosh, Taye Diggs was my, you know, like, why didn't I enjoy that? Why didn't I really, I don't know, like
private practice.
Yeah, I really was like, gosh, Taye, I got to make out with Taye Diggs. Like I should have really, but whatever. You sort of detach a little because you're with people and cameras. It's very strange.
Yeah. Now you mentioned on the play, If I Forget.
Yeah.
Fantastic ensemble cast, and including, you mentioned her name, Maria Dizia from Orange is the New Black. Now, can you two commiserate about what it's like to go from TV to stage and back and the differences in those roles?
Yeah, I mean, and she's so beautiful. She's so good in this, and she plays my little sister, and she's such an incredible actress, and we actually crossed paths for a minute on 13 Reasons Why, which is a Netflix series that I have that's coming out at the end of March. But it was so odd. I'm like, oh, hi, it's so nice to meet you. And then within a day of her being on set, I got the script for If I Forget. And she's like, I'm in it. And she's like, I'm going to do it. It's a beautiful script. So it's kind of like this cool sliding doors moment a little bit. But she's such a great actress. And I saw her work in another film recently. She's so good, and she's so powerful on stage, too. So it's a real pleasure and treat to be able to work with her.
Yeah, since you mentioned it, the Netflix series, and that was is a huge young adult book. I'm pretty sure either one or both of my daughters read that book, and it's so meaningful to kids. Basically, a girl who commits suicide leaves behind 13 cassettes, right?
Right.
You play the mom in that?
Yeah, I play her mother. And it's Catherine Langford plays the lead. She's so good, and it's an amazing cast. The kids are all great, and Brian Yorkie adapted it, who wrote Next to Normal. He won a Pulitzer for that here in New York, and Tom McCarthy is executive producing, and Selena Gomez is executive producing. So it was a really amazing experience as well. The writing is perfect, and he wrote it, though, for parents and kids, and again, multi-generations. Like, it really isn't just the high school world. It expands to the parental world. And so he's kind of written and woven a pretty dense tapestry and mystery. And it's obviously a very intense, to say the least, subject matter, and so we really took a lot of care in telling these stories.
Yeah, people really care about that. They want their book portrayed accurately on the screen, I think. Is it a limited series on Netflix?
It's 13 episodes for now. We don't know if maybe we'll come back and do more. We'll see.
Yeah. Kind of a golden age of TV, no?
It is. Yeah. It's a good time. Well, these shorter series and seasons are kind of a real gift for writers and actors to really explore. It's almost like doing a novel, like every season or something. So it's really, and it's much more humane schedule for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think there are more? I mean, again, Shonda Rhimes, the great example of writing terrific roles for women. Are you seeing more of that? Recently I heard about Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon, starting production companies just with the idea of creating better roles for women.
Yeah, I mean, I feel very lucky Shonda really, does that and blew the doors open for me, and what a great role. All of the women and men, I think, on her shows have just great characters to play and great stories. And I do think that it's getting better and better, and there's never enough. So it's always good that they're, you know, that women are producing. I've been able to produce. I produced my last TV show, Bad Judge, and have a couple of other things that I produce. It's a great thing, and to be able to give other women opportunities as well. Yeah.
Might you come back to network TV one day? Anything in the works there?
We're just right now. I'm doing Netflix, and so we'll see what happens after that. I've got the movies. It's been so
busy. Yeah, about the movies. The movie is Girls Trip.
Yeah, Girl Trip. Oh my gosh,
Trip.
Girl Trip.
Okay.
That's coming out in I think June or July. Yeah.
Is it Bad Moms kind of thing?
It was, It's really fun. It's a fun, big girl trip movie that takes place in Essence Fest, a lot of it. And it's Regina Hall, Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith, Tiffany Haddish, and me. And it's Malcolm Lee directed it. It's Will Packer produced. It's just a really fun, crazy movie. And I've seen little bits and pieces of it in editing. It's really funny. And I'm excited for that to come out. I think we premiere right before Essence Fest or right after, or during it or something in New Orleans. So
in the summer.
Yeah.
I can't remember, it might have been Variety said you play
I play an agent.
A crude.
I do play a crude agent. What do they say?
Agent.
Oh no. What do they say? Yeah.
They said a word that I probably shouldn't say here, but it was kind of funny.
Yeah, she's a little.
She's tough.
It was really
She's
tough,
a
but it was very fun. No, it was very fun. She's a little, maybe she might be a little lonely and inappropriate, but it was a really fun role to play. Yeah.
And back to the play, If I Forget. Do you get a sense when you're on stage during the preview phase of a show? Do you get a sense from the audience, how successful it is? Do you feel a vibe, sort of a response, how it's being received?
They've been with us, it feels like, and really, and absolutely with us, and laughing and listening and laughing and listening and clapping, which is a good sign, I think. But the play is a new play, so we've also been making lots of changes. Stephen and Dan have been adjusting and making cuts and edits and changes all along the way. Which has been great too and challenging, but you're like, okay, but I think it's, we have this is our last week, well, we're in last week of previews now, but it's been incredible. For me, I love having it up in front of an audience and running it as many times, because that's where you really find new things every time you do the play. That's one of the reasons why I love doing theater. 8 shows a week, it's a challenge to be present, but that thing that you don't get in television when everything's piecemeal is you get that arc every night and that rhythm, and it's like a symphony or a piece of music that you want to try to hit all the notes and find all the subtleties and nuances, and it's a great gift to be able to do it, especially with great writing like this.
Yeah. Now, you cut your teeth in theater, right? In Chicago. You mentioned Chicago before.
Yeah.
Was that your first great love? Is that why you got into the business, because you wanted to be on stage?
Yeah, I started doing plays when I was little. I used to watch old movies with my mom when I was little, like, 6, 7, like the $1 Million Movie, all these old musicals, and and I was like, I want to do that. And then I started doing plays in school and community theater, and did that. And then in college, I majored in English and then dropped out. I ended up doing more theater and did summer stock and moved to Chicago and got my equity card, trained, went to England, trained, came back, and then came here, and then LA.
Right, and then Grace happened.
Yeah, and then Grace happened.
So you were you weren't a teenager, you weren't a kid when you got Grace.
I was not.
How did that make the experience of stardom different than somebody who wakes up when they're 17, 18, 19 years old and they're suddenly a megastar?
Now, too, because there's the internet and everything, it's so crazy. I have a lot of compassion for kids who, fame is a strange thing, or public exposure, or like a mass. I mean, I was quietly working, I would say, like, sort of middle-class actor, very lucky, and working in films and TV and doing pilots and doing 6 episodes of this or that or whatever. But it's quite a different thing to have something like Grace happen, and that was also at a time where, 17, 22 million people a week were watching our show. It was before there was the internet, so there wasn't, 800 content channels. It was really just primarily the 3 networks and like HBO and maybe a couple other cable channels. So It was totally different. And I was really grateful to have had sort of a real strong sense of who I am and center, and a little bit of age and a little bit of wisdom, not a lot, but I had a small amount. And that helped, I think, to have that radical change, you know.
And yet now these shows are getting whole new audiences. They might not have the network numbers that they used to have, but they're having whole new audiences right on the streaming services.
Grey's in private practice. I have girls, little kids coming up to me like, oh, and I'm like, wait a minute, you weren't born when this show was on, or when I was on it. So yeah, it's getting a whole new renaissance. It's great.
Would you go back to Grey's? I mean, I know you've done a few guest shots there. Do you get asked about that?
Yeah, if there was guest stuff, I would go, or if there was a special episode, absolutely, I would do anything for Shonda.
Would you sing another episode? Didn't you sing an episode?
I think they like dubbed over they were going to have me sing. You try singing in cars or whatever, that Snow Patrol song. It's a very hard song to sing. But,
what I always wonder about the medical shows, too, I would think it would be so hard, first of all, to memorize the lines. Because do you gain any sort of medical knowledge from working on a show and having to toss around these?
There's just a certain part of your brain that memory is such an interesting thing, but it's short term, and you sort of like create like a little groove like you do in a record, or the way they used to in records, or like a little wormhole in your brain where all that, you know, it's like a habit. So you just remember all the medical jargon, and then you dump it as soon as you don't have to say it.
Right. Now,
I do.
We talked a little bit about when you were, you know, a rising star, when you were a working actress.
Yeah.
Say, did you have any other weird jobs that you had to do to support yourself?
Well, I waitressed. I did a lot of waitressing in New York. I did house painting for a little bit. I considered dog walking, but then I was like, oh, there's so much poop. No. And I temped when I was in Chicago. I remember when we were up and coming young actors, there was a group of us, we used to call it dangerous medical experiments, but in Chicago at, I forget, was it Columbia? One of the medical schools there, they used to hire actors when the medical students needed to practice being doctors, like patient-doctor relationships. So they would hire actors for like literally $50 a day to go in and pretend to be patients with ailments. And so that was fun, just to challenge these poor young medical students. I mean, it was ridiculous, but stupid, weird, yeah.
Or prescient. I mean, you wound up on Grey's Anatomy in private practice.
Yeah, but perseverance, luck.
Last question for you, and but I know you've done improv, you've done theater, so I know you can handle it. If you had to spend 22 minutes, or if you could spend 20 minutes, I should say, as I got to spend with you today, with whom would you want to spend it?
Oh, that's such a great question. There's like 800 people. You know, I'm just off the top of my head, the first person that came to mind is Michelle Obama. But I don't know. I mean, there's so many. Who would you?
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I get to spend 22 minutes with a lot of great people. I'm pretty lucky that way.
I wish I know. I mean, gosh, I don't know. Could we bring back Cleopatra? I'd like to talk to her.
That's a good one.
You know, just see what it was like. Yeah, I don't know.
Back to the play. So, previews. And then the big premiere. Now, this is a limited run, however.
Yes.
Is that just the nature of it, or is the possibility that if a lot of tickets are sold, it will continue or go to other cities, or how does that work?
I'm not certain. I know now it's through the end of April, possibly mid-May, and beyond that, we don't know. We'll see.
Just have to see.
Yeah.
People at the door, are they like, Doctor,
no,
Doctor, I want your autograph.
There are definitely fans that come and see it, which I'm super grateful for. We want everyone. And that's the thing, too, is this play, because it deals with so many awesome issues, but also it's life, death, birth, all of it, but because it's multi-generational too, it really is appropriate for, you know, kind of teenagers to people our age to older people. It's a big crowd pleaser, you know. It really is a very accessible and enjoyable play, I think, for all demographics, if you will.
Well, it sounds great. And I should say once again, the book written by
Stephen
writer.
Levinson of Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah.
Yes, a genius.
Kid. Big kid.
Yeah.
Kate Walsh, so nice to talk with you.
It's so nice to speak
Wonderful
with you.
to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.